Hoping you guys have a lot of good questions and we can get into some details on some stuff. But first, by way of introduction, my name is Scott Jangro and I work for MechMedia. I have been in the affiliate space since the late 90s. I worked at a few affiliate networks, Be Free, back when that company existed, turned into CJ. 2004, I switched sides and became an affiliate publisher. I and my company, we've made pretty much all of our business based on retail type sites. We focus primarily on niche retail community websites, and they are very heavily product driven, and then therefore we use extensively product data feeds. We've been through the spectrum of using product data feeds the very most wrong ways possible to, I think now we do things pretty well. So we have a lot of history on using product data feeds. Joe Sousa?
I'm Joe, one of the owners of Internet Marketing Associates. That sounds more important than it really is. It's just me, my dad, and brother, so there's not too many of us. We started out back in 97, 98 doing SEO work for clients, and after about 2 or 3 years, realized that we all hate clients, and we slowly started firing them, and some of them left us with some domains that were getting traffic. So I just took those and switched them over to affiliate sites. I think the first one was Walt Disney World tickets and hotels, and did that for a few years. And then there was another site that sold football jerseys and stuff. So yeah, I just kind of transferred the domains I had over to affiliate sites, and I've built a bunch of other affiliate sites since then. Most of my money-making sites are based on data feeds. I do have other ones that are just single product sites or review sites or things like that, but a lot of them are data feeds. And I'm probably the least complex in the way I do things between these guys. So if you're dumb, then you can listen to me, if not listen to the other guys.
My name is Eric, from Eric Nagel and Associates. That's me and my dog. And my background is I'm a programmer, trained programmer, and I got into affiliate marketing probably about 4 years ago, and for the last 2 years I've been doing it full time. What I'm going to be talking about here are the complex things, APIs, working directly with merchants to get access to their databases. If you want to talk code, you can talk to me about that.
All right, some logistical detail. Asking questions of us, you can do that by texting or tweeting or submitting via URL. So I'm going to be jumping off of this page, so make a note of that. Guess we'll come back to that at the end. The obligatory show of hands. How many of you in here are affiliates as opposed to the other types of players in our space here? Everybody? Good. And how many of you have used data feeds? So 50-50 or so. Here's some pie chart from a study by affiliatesummit.com. And it's a little bit small, but you can see of all the link types, text, widget, storefronts, product photos, pop-up, landing pages, dynamic rich media, data feeds is the magenta pie piece down around 4 o'clock. That's 12%. So generally, data feeds are probably pretty underutilized as far as link types go. Eric, you want to read this slide?
Sure. Wow. A data feed is a delimited database file that provides product information, images, and tracking links for merchant products. A data feed may provide data for hundreds or thousands of products. So when we're talking about data feeds, what we're talking about is a file that you can download, and what it's going to give you is product ID, product name, description, price, any attributes such as colors, sizes, also URLs for the images. Sometimes there's one, sometimes there's many, and your tracking links as well. So you as an affiliate will have your link put into the data feed. Sometimes you have to substitute your ID in.
Remember to do that, or you can lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
Done it a couple times.
So substitute your ID in, and then that's the link that you're going to use to send the users to in order to generate the sales. And the sources from there.
Right, so generally speaking, we all know how to go in through affiliate network interfaces. You can get product links one by one through some sort of searching type functionality. This is a way of getting all those products for any given merchant pulled down and on your desktop that you can do something simple like load up in a spreadsheet or get complicated with it and write software that will do something with it. Why do you want one?
Yeah, the main reason I use Datafeeds is because it's just an easy way to get 20 or 100 or even thousands of products. I think the biggest data feed I've seen has over 3 million products on it. So if you want just a mass number of pages on your site, you can use it for that. If you have a niche site, like if you have a cooking site and you want to list all the copper cookware from a merchant, you can take their data feed and search through it and just use the information off that. But it's a great way to add in multiple products without having to go cut and paste each link in and do it that way. It's just an easy way to put a lot of products out there.
And also, just to add to that, when you do an update to a data feed site, you can take that same feed, and if you have the script written, or if you have your step-by-step process that you import it into Excel and run these filters, and then take that data and upload it back to your website, you can quickly update in-stock levels, you can quickly update pricing, availability, or add new items to your site, without having to, like Joe said, go back and copy and paste all that information.
There's times where you don't want to use a data feed, though. If you just have one specific product you're talking about, like a specific watch or something, you have a specific model, you don't need a data feed because it's only going to be one product you're writing about. It's only one product you need information about. You might want that information from a bunch of different merchants, but you don't need, if you're focusing on a certain Rolex watch or whatever, you don't need 4,000 different other watches distracting the people. You want to just focus on that one. But there's a lot of sites where it is helpful to have a data feed.
And Joe, you mentioned something that you said, from a bunch of different merchants. A data feed site does not have to be from one merchant. So if you're taking the cookware, you can take it from 3, 4, a dozen different merchants, bring in the data feeds, put them together, and have one site that's featuring as many merchants as you want selling that product.
And I guess the obvious thing to do with data feeds is to make a data feed site, and we'll touch in a bit on how to do that and the different types of software solutions that are available. But I like to use data feeds for lots of other reasons as well, other than just maybe creating I guess the worst possible thing you could do is just make a copy of a merchant site with their data feed. That worked in 2000, but it actually worked very well in 2000. Funded some businesses, but it doesn't work anymore. If you just go, if you're thinking along the lines of creating a website that just has nothing but product data that is already available elsewhere on lots of other affiliate sites and merchant sites, probably a bad idea. Some folks may differ on that, depending on how long you want that site to last. I think that's a horrible thing to do. Doesn't matter what I think. I also think Google thinks that's a horrible thing to do, and I think we all care what Google thinks. But I like to use product data feeds for data mining. Just dig in, load it up, dig in, see what a merchant has available. It's an incredible resource for keywords. It's a great resource to see what's new, looking for trending topics. Just to really, I guess if you're a marketer and you look at a product data feed and it doesn't get you excited about doing something with that data, you might be in the wrong business. But there's a ton of stuff you can do.
It'll also show you new products that maybe you can add to your site. If you don't know the merchant offers it, you download it and you sort it by categories and see, oh, okay, they have these, and these. That's related to that product. I can put those in too. So yeah, it's not just about building sites. There's a ton of other information you can take out of those data feeds and use in other marketing areas as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great source of content, no doubt about it. You can use it to supplement existing content. You can use it to create one-off content, product by product, by hand-picking things out. But what I really like to challenge you to do is to think about what has never been done before with product data that you can create and that's what that's kind of, the next best thing, and none of us even, has any idea what that might be. But when you start to look at this product data, think about, the kinds of things that you might like to see as far as how product information is organized or presented on a website, and that's the real opportunity, I think, of data feeds. All right, some of the basics, how do you get them? All affiliate networks have product data feeds available, and they each have their own variety of ways to filter in through there, request them. Some of them are more easily downloaded than others. Sometimes you have to get approved, sometimes you don't. Your favorite network has methods of doing that. There's also, there's downloading the raw text files like Eric was talking about, and some networks have API services available. So you can get data in different formats, more consumable by software.
And there are some of the networks where you can select multiple merchants, and it just merges it all for you and gives you the data feed out that way. So rather than just getting a data feed from a single merchant, you can get one from 8 different merchants already filtered for a specific search.
And if the merchant doesn't have a data feed in the network, contact the merchant. And a lot of times, if they're running an e-commerce site, they probably have a database behind the scenes running their inventory levels and everything. You can just tell them, I just need the product name, description, and URL, and they can give you a dump of that information that you can use as your data feed. Obviously the URL is not your tracking URL, so you have to use that, in conjunction with the network's deep linking feature. But it is a way to get a feed. There's a question back there.
The noise behind us, we can't hear you.
Sorry. What I was saying was, if a merchant does not have a data feed in the network, you can contact the merchant and request that from their database. If they're running an e-commerce site, they probably have a database behind the scenes. And then what I was saying was, the URL that the merchant's going to give you in that case is not your trackable link. So make sure you take that URL and put it into the deep linking feature of the network.
What's a deep link, Eric?
A deep link is a tracking link in a network that you're not only specifying who you are as an affiliate and who the merchant is, but you're also telling the network then, once you set the cookie, I want you to send the user to this specific page. So you're not sending the user to the Petco homepage, you're sending it to this specific page that features the product you're trying to sell.
Some networks call them build your own links, deep links. All right. Tackle that.
Sure.
You can start feeds.
All right. What I do with feeds is, I'll generally go download them from the network. There's also companies that have in-house programs that have different data feeds, but I get the data feed from the merchant somehow, and I always take it and I always do something with it, whether it's try to add some unique content, I'll sort it differently, I'll just use part of it. But I rarely don't like just taking all 10,000 products from the merchant, throwing up a 10,000 page site with 10,000 products. I want to add content to it. I've had outsourced writers just take a data feed, and for like 15 or 20 cents per item, they'll rewrite the description or write a custom description about 50 to 100 words long. So it's different than the merchant's description, and that's going to be good for the search engines. I've seen those sites do better than just taking the standard content from the merchant, because it's already out there. Search engines don't really care for that too much. I will differ with Scott in saying that it can work sometimes, just taking the data feed and throwing a site up there. I've had some sites that have been up for 7 or 8 years, still near the top of the SERPs, and I really don't do much with those data feeds. I just pull it and plug it in and go. So it can work, but it also can't work. It just depends on the site and the market. That one's been around so long, I think the age has something to do with it. But I'll take it. And then I have a few different programs. We'll get into the programs to use later. When I first got started with data feeds, it was like 2002, 2003, there was one main program that handled them called WebMerge, and it was a client-side system. So I built a 8,000 page site or so, have 8,000 pages on my computer, have to FTP them, which took about an hour, hour and a half or so. And then I'd see, oh, there's a mistake. I messed up on my template or whatever. Change it, upload it again, and I got fed up with that and thought, yeah, there's got to be a better way. So we went on, at that point it was Rent-A-Coder, it's V-Worker now or something like that. And we had a programmer write us a script that would take the data feed and spit out HTML pages. And yeah, it's almost 8 years old now, but it still works, and I still use it almost every week to update sites. So once you get the feed, there's a number of different ways you can go about using it. And I would suggest if you really want to get into it, find a programmer, describe what you want them to do with the feed, and they can get you a script. Probably you can get one for, I'd say under $1,000. I think we paid $400 back then for it. And it's made a lot more than that for us. And yeah, there's other WordPress scripts that do it and other downloadable programs for that. And we'll talk about those in a bit. And Eric, what's an API?
I knew you were going to ask me that. Application Programming Interface? Is that
that's
right?
it.
Okay, Jim's nodding. I just know it as APIs. So an API is a service that sits out in the cloud. It's going to sit with on the merchant's website on their server. And what you do is, as a programmer, you will access that API through some sort of programming script, and you can tell them, okay, this is who I am with your authentication tokens. And you can tell the API what you're looking for. So you could say, I'm looking for dog collars, and it will search their database live, real time, and then return the results to you. The way that differs from a data feed is a data feed is generated, and it's done. If nobody regenerates that data feed, it never gets changed. Whereas an API is always live, always updating. There's pros and cons to both. Data feeds are nice because once you load it, you can build your site, and your site's very fast. If for some reason the merchant connection goes down, your site's still working. With an API, there's times where the connection to that merchant site goes down. Well, now your affiliate site goes down because it no longer has the source of information. So with an API, you're tapping in directly to the merchant's database. One way to get around that is you can cache the results, so you can request it and then save it on your side for a couple hours. The data is obviously updated much more frequently. Depending on the merchant that you're working with, they might keep inventory levels, so they know exactly when something sells out, they'll no longer return it in the result set to you. However, it does require a lot more programming knowledge. You're not just going to take a flat file and load it into a third-party application. A lot of these APIs, they give you a lot of documentation, a lot of how-to scripts. So if you want to hack something together, just download what they give you, change some things. As you change it, rerun the script and see what's changing.
And I'll just add, in my experience, the great promise of APIs is that the data is frequently updated, real time. You hear words like that when you're dealing with APIs. But in truth, when a network is serving up the APIs, it's a data feed on the other end where the merchant is giving them to the network. So it's good to understand how fresh data is.
Yes, when you're accessing a network API, but APIs can also be direct to the merchant.
Right.
So you can use a merchant API and then use the network to do the tracking. That way you're getting the best of both worlds.
All right, how can you use data feeds? There's lots of different ways to access product data. There are services out there. Next slide, I think, has some details on those. Basically, you've got an existing site. You maybe want to try putting some products on there that might supplement the content that you already have. You can drop some JavaScript on the site, and it will go off like an API, but it's all automatic, done with JavaScript, pre-written, that will just pull content into your website, like AdSense. AdSense is that same kind of concept. Generally, you can, AdSense is contextual and does it automatically. Some of the JavaScripts that pull down data feed information is not automatic and contextual. You feed it keywords, dog collars, and it would serve down maybe one or a page of dog collar information. And you can actually build an entire site out of these JavaScript solutions.
And some of the affiliate networks have functions like that built into it, where you can go through and select a bunch of merchants and search, and it'll give you the script too. So it's not just third-party scripts that do it. Some of the networks. I know ShareASale has it. Pepper Jam has it. Does CJ have something like that? Do you know?
I don't think so.
Okay. But yeah, some of the networks do have built-in functionality like that, where it is very easy to just plug in some data feed information into your site. The downside is that the information is not on your site. So there's no content there. There's no content for the search engine to see. It's just a script.
But it is a good way to test. So
Yeah.
if you've got some content, want to see what kind of products might convert and do well on some existing content, like Joe said, it's not on the site, it's not search engine food, but it is good to have on there. If you want to just try to monetize a blog or some other content that you have.
Yeah. The next step, the intermediate step, is probably when you start getting into some of the WordPress plugins that are out there, and even writing your own scripts or some of the data feed tools that are out there. The good part about that is it actually builds the content on your site. It builds actual HTML pages or actual blog posts that are all linked together. Takes care of all the linking as far as categorization and all those things. And that's usually what I do. Those are the things I do for my sites. I haven't gotten to the API level yet. I'm not smart enough. And I like things fairly easy.
And you keep saying, that it's good to have the content on your site, and just so, I don't know what experience level everyone's at here, but that's really going to help you with SEO. Okay, if you just have the JavaScript down there, Joe was saying the search engines can't see it. Well, if they can't see what's on there, then you're not going to get any SEO benefit. Whereas if it generates the page and you have the page on your site and you're serving up the actual content, the spiders have something to read and they understand that that's what your site's about. It's going to help with your SEO practices. And then the advanced again. Oh, yeah.
Can you give us some examples of some WP plugins that you guys would recommend? I know I'm familiar with the WP robot that publishes table like that and things like that, but maybe some also.
I think that's on the next slide.
Yeah.
So let me just run through this and then we'll check that next slide. Advanced guys, if you're looking for advanced ways to work with data feeds, again, there's APIs. Raw feeds, I forgot what I was thinking when I wrote that down, but I think it was just actually getting a full dump of a merchant's database. And with raw feeds, it's very flexible to what you want to do with it. You could take a raw feed and build a mobile application with it. You can build a Twitter bot where if someone's looking for something, they can send a tweet to that, and then your bot can read the tweet, access the API, and come back with an answer. So the sky's the limit when you're actually dealing with APIs. You can do whatever the API can return.
Right, and what you're doing with how you present the data is one thing, and what happens behind the scenes is another. And so I think while Eric uses a lot of APIs for his stuff, we use raw feeds and we pull in all the product data from hundreds of merchants and put them in a gigantic MySQL database and slice the data up on our own, and not hitting APIs constantly for content. So there's just two different approaches to dealing with the product data, but yeah, both of those methods require a lot of in-house development generally to pull the data in, parse it up, get it into a database in the raw feeds case, and then write scripts. Generally, most people do it in PHP, pull it out, and present it in whatever way your web application does. Is there a hand up?
Yeah, I have a question about, when you pull the data, are there certain filters you can put in place that says only pull data that has this in the title? Like some of these merchants, like Overstock and Barnes & Noble, or these merchants that have huge databases,
Right.
you only want a little piece of the pie.
Right, so the question, let me repeat the question in case folks didn't hear it. When you're pulling data feeds down from networks or merchants, is there a way to kind of pre-filter that information you pull down? Merchants like Overstock have hundreds of thousands or millions of products. Do these feed technologies have pre-filtering you can do before pulling data down?
Personally, I'm not sure, because I'd rather pull all the data down and filter it myself with Excel or something, just so I get the filter right and I just download it once. Do you know if there's...
Yeah, well, same thing with Eric. I want to filter the data myself. I don't want to let somebody else do it, There's times where you could search for something through your data feed, and maybe there's a word or two that's wrong in half the descriptions, and you're missing it. So you have to go back and refilter it yourself. If I was just did that filter from the merchant site, it might miss half those products. So I don't know if that technology is available on like the API side, but usually if you're just downloading a CSV file, you have to take it all. There's some merchants that have multiple smaller stores you can pull a smaller bit from, but for the most part, from what I've seen anyway, you just download the database and then do the filtering yourself.
Yeah, I'd agree. Generally speaking, it's like you've probably seen, you get everything, and it's up to you to filter it out. There are some solutions out there, or depending on, some smaller networks have tried to differentiate themselves by creating some more advanced data feed tools, so you can, in fact, specify categories. I don't know if it gets into the details of filtering by keywords and product in the product names and that sort of thing, but it really depends on the merchant and the network. But generally speaking, no, you get all or nothing.
Yeah. Well, I do know on Pepperjam you can do a search and it'll pull out the feed just based on that search. But once again, you're going to lose half the products sometimes, or a third of the products. Or, I mean, even if you lose 10% of the products, that's 10% of your potential revenue that you're going to miss out on. 10% of the potential searches you're going to miss out on. So, like they're saying, I pull the data and just filter it myself.
I mean, you got to remember that some of these merchant databases are years and years old. So, looking at a sports team, the guy 3 years ago might have been putting all the baseball caps in under Oakland A's, and then this new guy was hired last week and starts adding new ones under Oakland Athletics. So when you go through and search for just Oakland, well, then you're going to get the Raiders and all that other stuff. And if you put in A's, you're going to miss all the Athletics. So, my preference is going to be, just download the whole thing and do it yourself.
From an architecture standpoint, are you guys generally cobbling their data into more of your database format, or are you sort of keeping it true to the structure that each different merchant has set up?
The question is from an architecture standpoint, do we, I'm going to paraphrase, aggregate all the data into our own custom database format, or do we use it more in the format that the merchants and networks provide? Speaking for myself, and since we do pull it all in and use the raw feeds, we've got our own architecture that we use. It's very close to what most of the networks provide. Otherwise, it would be much more difficult.
Not one data source is driving. You
But-
guys all have different numerous
Yeah.
sites, I assume.
But we parse, we create parsers for each network and for other merchants that provide feeds directly, and it maps the data to the fields that we have in our database. Furthermore, we'll parse the data inside there to do things with categories to try to pull all the disparate categorizations into our own category structure, which is pretty heavy duty stuff to do that. It's a problem in the industry in general, this non-standardization of categories. Hopefully, there will be some standardization coming in the future. I do know that the Performance Marketing Association, the PMA, has a data feed working group, and they're working on developing some data feed standards. Part of that is trying to standardize on some categorization fields, what data is good, and how the data should be formatted. It's a big, wide array of the type of information you get, not only the fields, but what's in the fields, and it might be HTML, might be text. So it's a lot of work to, as you probably know based on your question, to pull that information together.
I usually just, if I'm pulling data from multiple sources, there's just a lot of cut and pasting for me. I don't have any fancy scripts to parse all the data or recategorize things. It's a lot of search and replace and cutting and pasting and shoving stuff into different cells in the Excel file. And yeah, I kind of just hit it with a truck and make it work.
Yeah, I'm with Scott that I set up my databases ahead of time, and I know how I want my site to work. And then once I know how I want my site database structure, all right, then I'm going to look at the sources of the data and figure out how they're going to fit them in there.
But just one more thing before that question. I think one of the best things that you can do is to do something extra with the data that you're getting. Not only from a kind of a value add standpoint in what you're doing for the users, but it makes it unique. So if there's something you can do to make the data unique to your site, whether that's how the actual data itself looks or how it's structured. What we do, for example, just to give an example, shoes is one of the product types that we have a website on. And we've gone through some extensive processes from the 36 merchants out there that has shoe data. We have algorithms that pull the model and the brand and model of the shoes out of each. They're similar but different, and we want to be able to pull them together and consolidate all of the shoes of a certain brand and model on a single page. And all the merchants have different data around that, but what we've done is built some tools that make it really easy to map the brands. 9 West might be spelled with a number 9 or the word 9 on 2 different merchants. And so what we do is create a mapping. So we know one merchant spells it like this, we know another merchant spells it like that, and we always pull it in and put our own brand dictionary that we map, yeah.
Just coming from a merchant's perspective, what's the minimum you guys would prefer in terms of information to have in data feed that you can work with? Is there like, you set yourself some kind of level, like if they don't have this information, I'm just gonna throw it out?
Yeah, he asked what's the minimum amount of information you want from a merchant in the data feed. Pretty much, for me anyway, image URL. It's nice if they have a thumbnail and a large size image, but if they just have one, I can usually work with it. A tracking URL, and a price, and a title of the product. Sometimes descriptions can be great, categorization, depending on the site. If it's a bigger site, you definitely want some sort of categorization, but if you're building a 20 product site, you don't quite need that. But yeah, some sort of categories and subcategories is always nice to have. But beyond that, I don't need a lot of model numbers. I don't need a lot of specifics, colors, and so on and so forth from the sites I've built. Sometimes it could help, but it's not necessary for me.
It's very niche specific, I would say.
Yeah.
If people are searching for, let's just say, TVs, people are doing their research, they understand what TV they want, then they're going to go and price shop for that TV. So in that case, I want model numbers because I want to see I want to be able to search for that model number and give the shopper, here's the different price options. So it's going to be very niche specific. But first and foremost, they got to work.
Yeah.
I mean, if the links don't work and if all the images are broken, as an affiliate, and affiliates, if you're just getting into data feeds, you're going to find that a lot. You're going to find that there's feeds that all the images are broken or all the links are broken. You contact the merchant and they go, oh yeah, that broke the last update 6 weeks ago and we're working on it. And if that's the case, you might want to reconsider working with that merchant for your data feed.
And even kind of go along with that, there's times where you'll get a feed one time and then next time you go download it, the merchant decided to categorize everything differently. And the site structure you have currently is going to be no longer valid if you just throw it up and update it. So you got to go back and figure out what do you want to do with that. But yeah, merchants, they change the data they give you on occasion, and that can be pretty frustrating sometimes.
Jen, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'm curious, obviously with an API, you can build a site that updates on its own. But when you're using the raw files to pull in or you're doing the cutting and pasting, how often do you tend to update a data pull versus, other than being niche specific, because I think that would play into.
Yeah, the question is how often when you do raw feeds, how often do you pull the data and update it? In my case, we do it daily. And that's based on, we work primarily in the big networks, and they do it daily. And we just we have a pretty good idea of when they do it for us, and it differs because they update data feeds all day long, and we are somehow like at 3 a.m. our feed appears. And so we watch that, and then we'll run our updates at 5 a.m. Also, because it's a really heavy database operation, we like to run things in the morning, not in the middle of the day. So a busy site can get bogged down if we're updating the database while it's getting some heavy usage.
Yeah, it kind of really does depend on the niche. I've had sites that I've had up there for 3 years and I haven't touched the data feed, and there's still sales coming in. Other ones, I do a lot of stuff with sports, and I mean players are moving all over the place, and new players will start doing good in the middle of the season, so there's a new jersey out for them or a new shirt or something. So sites like that, I update. I try to do it every week. Sometimes it's every month. So I don't do it as regularly as probably it should be done, but it's close enough to keep most of the information current.
I've got a site that is just all about Frontline Plus, the pet flea medicine, and I update that one monthly. That's typically when the prices are updated. Also, with something like that with a data feed, if you know that there's like a certain product and you're doing price comparison on it, one of the best ways I found to build a price comparison data feed site and actually get the sales is combine the data feed with the merchant coupons. So there might be a product that's $34.99, but there's just a 10% off coupon. You don't show $34.99. You show whatever the 10% off price is. When they, and then do the typical coupon trick, make them click on the link to get the coupon. That in turn sets the cookie. Now they have the coupon, the cookie set, and if they're price comparison shopping, they're ready to buy. I mean, that's probably the second most ready person is someone who's out there typing in best price for Frontline Plus for cats. That person already knows they need it and they're ready to buy it. So if you can show them the best price and truly the best price with coupons, you're going to get the sale out of it.
Which, by the way, you can get in feeds as well. Coupon data is generally available as product data.
That's even worse than product feeds. There's another question in the back.
Do any of you take the data feed and make it so that the images are being posted on your own server?
Definitely.
Yeah, the question is, do we host the images from the data feeds on our own servers?
Okay, I said definitely. Now I'm going to change my answer to sometimes. It depends on the niche. Again, one of the nice things is if you take the images and you copy them, well, first you probably want to get the merchant's permission to do so. But when you have those images, you can take them and rename them, and then you can build an image sitemap using the data feed, and that's another way to drive traffic. So, I mean, especially on products that people are looking for to see a picture of them, if you have the image on your site and you're using, an image sitemap and submitting that to Google Images, it's a way to get the person looking for these products back to your affiliate site. Then they see the product. Now it's your job then to make them click and get the cookie set again.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet. That's one of the things I'm working with a programmer to rewrite the software I use to pull those down. Because yeah, then you can harness a lot of that image search traffic, which can be pretty significant in some markets. And yeah, it's nothing I've done yet, but it's something I'm looking to do.
It does require a little bit of programming just to somehow figure out how you're going to download all of those links.
Did you say you have an image search?
Google image search. So you can, yeah, you can create an image sitemap. Yep, and you just submit it. I think you submit it through Webmaster Tools, don't you? You guys know? Okay. Well, let's just say you submit it through Google Webmaster Tools, and it's just another sitemap that you have. And with that one, you're telling them what the image URL is, what the caption is. So that the caption is your keyword for the image. So if you're looking for, green blouses, that's something that someone's going to be searching for and wants to see a visual answer to their search query. So they go to Google, type in green blouses. The first couple results are probably going to be images. Google's smart enough to know that, that's what you're looking for. If you get one of those first few results, they click, now they're at your site. Yeah.
So what's the protocol for writing that sitemap?
You can, I'm trying to, in Google Webmaster Tools, they outline the structure that's required for that. I'm sure there's a conversion tool taking it from, an Excel file into the proper format, or just go on, I don't know, guru.com or what is it, Elance, Odesk, any of these outsourced, programs where you can just hire a programmer for $10 to write you the program.
I'm going to say definitely. Well, you backed off that. I'm going to stand with definitely on using caching the product images locally. For the reasons you guys mentioned, the image searches, we actually get quite a bit of image search traffic.
Yeah.
It's not terribly valuable, but it's traffic. And but we tend to be paranoid, so I like to remove any fingerprints that make me look like an affiliate. So having the images served up on my own server rather than having images hot linked from all over the place, I think, personally, is a signal that search engines might use to identify quality of a website. Furthermore, I don't trust the merchant to necessarily serve up all those images. So if I've got to cache locally, or even better, to some place like Amazon S3 hosting, I know it can be really super fast. And by having load speed is also is becoming a much more important factor in search engine rankings. If you talk to SEO experts, making sure your site loads super fast is really important. And if you're at the mercy of merchants to serve up images from wherever they happen to be serving up images, your site could load pretty slowly. Jim, did you?
I was just going to raise that point that you need to optimize your images because more often than not, when you put the data feed down, the images are massive. The file size is huge and it takes a long time for the image to load. It will be downloaded and optimized and serve up the quality can be sufficient to serve up the image.
Right, optimizing the images is important for speed. And what we do is we pretty much convert everything down to a thumbnail-sized image. And if they want to see the full size, we'll send them over to the merchant and
That's huge.
get a click.
That's probably one of I'd say the second easiest way. Behind the coupons, just showing the thumbnail on your site and saying, hey, if you want to see the, you can even I put little icons underneath the thumbnail image with a magnifying glass. Click to see larger image. And they click and they go to the merchant site and they see the larger image. And you're not lying. I mean, they're going to go to the merchant site and see a bigger image, but you might as well get that cookie set in the meantime.
All right, let's talk about some of the commercial products. We had a question about that. This is some kind of in the order of easy to difficult. There are services out there that do their best to get as many data feeds into their systems as possible and serve them up. The first few here, Pop Shops and Golden Can, are a couple of examples of solutions that are that JavaScript solution that we were talking about earlier, where you put some code on your site, probably specifying a keyword on a particular page, and it will go off to that service and pull down whatever products they think matches the criteria that they.
Yeah, they do.
Right.
They do. I think both of them have paid versions where you can actually have the content on your site. I don't know how much they are a month. I've never really looked into it, but yeah. Data feeder, it's kind of similar. It's mainly designed for WordPress, where you can go. There's a WordPress plugin, but you go to their site, you select all the merchants that are yours, then you can do a search and pull out all the products. I've used it a couple times. The thing I don't like about it is you have to build all your categories. So blue shoes, and then you search for blue shoes and build all that one. Then you search for red shoes. I mean, you just keep going down all the categories you want. So it can be kind of time consuming to get it set up. It is pretty much just a plug and play type thing. There's a lot of customization you can do on the WordPress side of it with their plugin, as far as linking and things like that. So it's a decent option. The WordPress plugin that I've been using mostly lately is CSV Pig. The one downside of it was there's no way to do subcategories, but they just released a version that theoretically was supposed to be able to do that, but it doesn't work yet. So they're fixing it. That's the one I like to use, along with just the if I'm doing a WordPress site. If I'm doing just a standard HTML site, we just have a custom program we had written that I use for that.
Yeah, and then the local databases and APIs, again, it's just depending on your programming abilities. If you can do that, it's probably the way I would lean. You're not relying on a third party, and you have complete control over everything.
There's also different WordPress plugins you can get specifically for eBay or specifically for Amazon or some of the bigger merchants like that just pull all those products in that are really easy to set up. But once again, that's more just like a JavaScript plugin thing where the content isn't going to be on your site.
And let's not forget the good old spreadsheet. Pretty much every feed, before I'll do anything with it, I'll download it, load it up in Excel or spreadsheet and look at it. And it needs to kind of pass a visual inspection to make sure it's even worth dealing with. And using a spreadsheet is the perfect app for that. All right, this last slide, tips and tricks. We touched on a lot of these things. Hot linking image, we talked about cleaning out HTML special characters. We talked about the quality of the data, and there can be a lot of junk in data feeds. So you need to, this is part of the process of loading up a feed and dealing with feeds, is to take a look at them first, make sure that there's not going to be, for example, a bunch of HTML in there that might, best case, just look bad, worst case, break your site. I strip out all HTML. before I will put up anything up on a site.
Yeah, I rarely will just take a data feed straight from the merchant and put it up without messing with it, because there might be some ASCII characters in there or something. It's not like a real quotation mark. It's something else, and it just looks bad. Yeah, almost every data feed, there's going to be something you need to mess around with.
Yeah, merchants are notorious for putting in the, double quotes that are stylized that don't convert well to the web. They come out of a word processor or something. And I mentioned this before, looking for patterns in data, to do things with the data that is a little extra, kind of going the extra mile and create something unique. Want to handpick any of these things off, or we can pick some questions?
I'll just talk about the value of simple sites. Data feed sites don't need to be huge. I mean, they don't need to be 10,000 products. I have one, camouflagejersey.com. I built it. The NFL released a new line of Realtree camouflage jerseys. And I saw it, oh, okay, let me build it. Super ugly site, has 39 products on it. And I mean, within like, I think a day or two of putting it up, it started making sales. And I mean, it's just a simple site. It took probably, I don't know, a half hour, 45 minutes. I just used some existing templates I already had and changed out a couple graphics, and there's very little content on it. But I mean, simple sites can still do well.
I've got a site with 4 products, and it's bordercollieechecks.com, and it's personal checks featuring border collies.
I'm sensing a theme here, Eric.
What's that?
I'm sensing a theme here.
That site, I put it up, and within a week it had its first sale. So they don't have to be complicated. Now, the site's pretty ugly. I mean, I just took it, threw it into Thesis, and I think I added a YouTube video to it, and then I walked away from it. I actually did it for a tutorial for my website, just showing how it's done. But it helps when the tutorials make money, so.
Yeah, I mean, a simple site, once you get a system down, you can easily put a decent data feed site out in under an hour using some of the WordPress plugins or your own script, if you know what you're doing. But there's also other data feed sites that have hundreds of thousands of products. And it just depends on what market you're looking at, what niche you're looking at, and what you want to do with it.
Scott, we have a question. Yeah.
Let's say you have a huge site, 10,000 products.
Yeah.
How do you handle the unique content demands for that site? What are some strategies you might use?
It depends how much you care about the site.
I care.
You care?
I care.
Okay, Mechanical Turk.
Okay.
You would take your database of products, you would upload it to Mechanical Turk and pay someone 1 to 2 cents to rewrite the content.
Yeah. Or find an outsourced writer from India or the Philippines or something. It's probably not going to be perfect English as far as the rewriting on it. If you really, really care, you're going to be staying up late at night writing a lot of
I mean, what I would do is,
descriptions.
personally, I would take the site and throw it up there. And if you're getting any type of traffic, and especially if you get a sale, now it's time to start paying attention to that website. And then you could do a simple spin on it, where you could take the content and, like Joe said, send it outsourced to have it rewritten. You could take it and run it through Google Translate a couple times and go from English to French to Spanish back to English, and you have a different version of the content. And then once you know the pages that are really working, you're going to sit down and rewrite them yourself. Or, someone that actually has a decent grasp of the English language. So it goes from different variations on how well the site's really working.
Like I said, just do ready, fire, edit. So get the stuff up there,
Yep.
see what traffic you get, and then once you start getting traffic, then you can say, right, I need to focus a little bit on that.
Exactly.
And also you can get the site out there and see, well, this category is 90% of the sales for this. Okay, let me spend my efforts on that category and boost that up. It might only be like 10 products out of 10,000 that are actually getting you the sales. So it's manageable at that point to spend a lot of time on that.
Another angle, we don't use any merchant data at all. Solicitations. We don't actually use any of the merchant product data at all. We will not put any descriptions that we get from merchants on a website. I just don't want to get any kind of duplicate content detection going on there. What we generally do is create maybe groupings of products and write some content about the entire group of products. So instead of trying to have one product and have a description about that one product, maybe you have a kind of a theme of products and a page for that, and then write some interesting, compelling content that's unique and completely new, not spun, just some well-written content like that, yeah.
One of the questions was how do you make good-looking sites via data feeds? A lot of the programs used to build them are all template-based. So it all comes down to having a good template, and once again, going into the data feed and making sure that the content there looks good. If you have all kinds of crazy characters in your descriptions when you throw them up, it's going to look bad. If all the images are different sizes, it's going to look bad. So a lot of it just is based on how good of a template you build to start out with. And if you're not good at design, hire a programmer.
You know,
Me, I build ugly sites, and ugly sites can still sell, and still sell well.
It depends on the type of site. If it's a price comparison, your job is to get the person to leave your site as fast as possible because they already know what they want to buy. So you don't have to have a beautiful looking site. But what I do is if I'm going to build a data feed site, I start at, I think it's freecsstemplates.org, and I spend 2 minutes and I find a template that I like and I download it, and it's very lightweight, which the search engines love. It's all tableless and everything, and it ranks pretty well.
And once you find a template you like, reuse it. Reuse it for other sites. Change a couple graphics around. Excuse me?
The site was freecsstemplates.org.
And we'll design a site from scratch and use the good-looking things out of a feed, which is the product images. And like I said before, we don't fill it up with text from the feed. We'll we'll display the product images and the product names, but in a designed way. So there are, you can build a completely designed site that has product data in it. There's a question back there.
Hi, so I actually work for a company, we handle data feeds for merchants to affiliates and affiliate networks. What can we do to make your life easier?
All right, the question was, he handles data feeds for merchants and networks. What can he do to make our lives easier? One of the easiest things is just make sure that the content in there is quality, that there isn't bad characters, that there isn't missing fields, that
The links work.
the links work, that the image links work.
Yeah, quality is the biggest thing, I would say, as well.
You don't need to check every single link, especially if you have 20,000 URLs in there, but just do a spot check, or you can even just generate a quick HTML page and run an image or a link checker over it, and it'll tell you which links are broken. Just try to keep it clean. And you can come to my session tomorrow and we'll tell you what to do with it too.
I don't know if there's a way to totally standardize data feeds since there is so many different sources to get them from. But if you're selling dog collars or whatever, and you go to 8 different merchants and they have them pretty much categorized the same, and you categorize them differently, that's just going to be a pain to deal with. So look at what the competition is doing, look what the other feeds that people can have in it, and try to give somewhat similar information as far as categorization and model numbers. If the other people don't have model numbers, then you probably don't need model numbers.
Right.
But if they have model number, color, size, all of the information, then it'd be good to get that in there.
Go ahead.
How much vendor payout management do you do? Let's say Amazon maybe has a lower payout but converts at a much higher rate versus some other merchant you work with that carries a similar set of products, pays out much higher but converts lower. How much preference are you guys doing?
Trying to think how to paraphrase that question. How much analysis and processing do you guys do on product data to determine which merchants to show based on conversion and other factors, the jobs that they're doing on converting customers, are EPC, that sort of thing?
Most of the sites I build are just this one specific, I'll just use one specific merchant, so it's not that big a deal. There's some where I do combine them, and I'll look and see, well, this one's, I do some looking and just seeing what the conversion is, and okay, they only pay 7%, but they convert 4%. This one pays 12% and converts at 2%. Which one's going to make me more money?
So you're maybe looking at the beginning of a site build and you say, I'm going to pick this versus
Yeah.
another. What about you guys? Where you
We've built a system that tracks every single click out and puts an ID on that, and we pull that back in through the network reporting data and look at every product's EPC per page.
Yeah.
So we know right down to the page and product, which product's converting the best. And when we display that page, we put the highest converting stuff, the highest EPC stuff up top.
That's pretty cool.
That sounds good.
Yeah. I'm going to go with his answer.
What's the most important factor in making money with data feeds? You guys have a most important factor?
Get the user to click. I mean, you're working in a CPS environment where if the user doesn't click, you don't have the cookie set, it doesn't really matter. Now, I use data feeds a lot for comparison sites, so I don't need to sell the user. They're just looking for a price. So that's why that's my answer.
I would say pick a good niche. I mean, it's not just pick a data feed, throw it up there, and you're gonna make money. You got to do the same market research you would with any other site. You got to know that, okay, people are buying this product. Let me go find a data feed, and I'll sell them that product. So, yeah, a lot of it is doing the legwork beforehand, and not just throwing it up and hoping you make money.
I'm going to say getting traffic, because no one's going to click if they're not there. And data feeds is a great way to do that from an SEO standpoint, and from a paid search standpoint. It's rich with keyword data for developing paid search campaigns. Great source of pulling out keywords. So data feeds are not only is it important to get traffic, obviously, to monetize feeds, but they're also great for generating traffic.
There was a question about a post I made, to make one site a week that makes $50 to $100. Similar to that camouflage jersey site I was talking about. It hardly take any time to make, but yeah, that thing, it makes about $50 to $100 a month. So a lot of it's just finding the niches, trying some out. Some are going to bomb, make me nothing. Other ones are going to make money for me. So a lot of it is just trying out a bunch of different niches, doing the research on them, finding new products, finding hot products, hot markets. I think there's a session on hot markets tomorrow or Tuesday, one of those days, I think. But yeah, a lot of it is just if I can find the niches, if I can find the products, and if I can find the data feeds to go with those, it's just a matter of building the sites and putting them out there.
We're just about out of time. Probably time for one more question, if there is one. I'm sorry.
Just a quick question. I mean, you put the sites up. I've heard you talk a lot about promoting them. Is it just you just really go on the long tails and do just SEO? There really isn't any promotion or anything.
Yeah, for me, it's mostly just long tail stuff. I don't go out searching for links all the time. Depending on the site, I might go comment on a few blogs or offer to write some articles for them. I'm a huge Seahawk fan. I'm glad they won yesterday. And I put a Seahawk site up a while back, and somebody commented on my blog post. I saw he had a blog, so I said, hey, let's swap some posts. And I mean, that's about the extent that I do for a lot of the SEO stuff.
Yeah, I would just have to say like Jim said, you throw it up there, and if there's any type of traction, okay, now let's treat this as a long-term commitment to this website. Because there's just so many ideas. I mean, I can fill like a whiteboard a week with ideas of things that I could do. Half of that would probably be with data feeds and APIs. So just take those ideas, throw them up there. If they start to have any type of traction, okay, now do I need to hire a link builder? Do I want to hire someone to make comments on blog posts, do it myself, and such. And we're kind of out of time.
Yeah, another minute. I'll just expand on that a little bit.
Okay.
We take a little bit of a different approach, and we've got a platform that we built that we can pull data feeds into in a particular niche, and it creates a community site. And we are it's created for paid search. And that's how we start, by driving paid search traffic to a site and start to get some traction. Hopefully it's going to start to pick up some natural search. But we also have a very heavy social media component to it. So when people interact on the site, they have the option of tweeting their comments or posting them to Facebook, and we get a lot of traffic from people just getting involved.
Yeah, I mean, I love what it sounds like you're doing with your site. If you can't say that's fine, but do you have any examples of a site that you could share?
Sure.
No big deal.
No, perfectly happy to share. Shoehunting.com is probably our poster child of what we do. Yeah. I think we're out of time.
Yeah.
And whoever asked that last question, if they want to come up and talk to me, that's fine.
Yeah, I think we'll be
we'll be
here.
around
You
for a
guys
little
want to chat? Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.